I'm going to show you guys the fastest way to level your engineering in New World, and most efficient ways, or the best way if you want to spend money. It depends on which way you want to level. There's only two good ways to level engineering in New World, and that is gunpowder and weak proficiency boosters. Weak proficiency boosters are the best way if you just want to spend money whenever you see air motes and soul motes on the market, and then you just buy them and you go get some water and you just convert. You get 36 engineering experience every time, and you'll slowly get there. You can't actually sell them, so you'll probably just have to throw them on the ground. You might sell them for 0.01 or something, but it's not worth the time. The other way, which is the more consistent way, is to make gunpowder. Now, flint and saltpeter, at least when I made this video, it's going to vary by server. It's going to change over time, but the prices on flint and saltpeter are terrible generally. So when I made this video, at least, it was no matter what, flint was 3 gold plus and saltpeter was 3 gold plus. Charcoal is basically free, at least when I made this video. I don't know what it's going to be when you watch this video or for your server, but the best way to do this generally is if you can buy the wood and make charcoal, or just buy the charcoal, or get the wood yourself. It's whatever. But then it comes down to flint and saltpeter. So flint, there are a few different ways to get flint. One is you follow any coastline, and there's a ton of flint on the coastline. There's two good spots that I know of, though. One is over to the east of Windsward, just between the Pride Pucket and Stoneview Seabreak, and there's a big swath of coast that has a ton of it there, and then you can run up down this coast and go back and forth along this coastline. It's reasonable. But then there's the spot I made a video on. I'll link it in the description below. There's a spot that you can get a ton of flint, which is over at Dead Man's Cove. Just outside of Dead Man's Cove, you'll see there's a yellow outline of the boardwalk they stand on in front of the wall. Well, right over here where you see my mouse moving around, there is a spot of flint where there are maybe like 10 flint spawns overlapping each other. And what you can do is you can pick up the flint as fast as you can, and then after you pick up like 200 flint or so, it eventually stops spawning super fast. So then what you want to do is run away out of render range, which is like 200 meters or something. Wait about 30 seconds, come back, and then it'll be spawning normally again. Doing that, you can get about 2,000 flint per hour, which if you want to sell the flint, you could just make like 6,000 gold an hour or something. But the flint, that'll take care of the flint need. So now you got flint covered. So then the other ingredient that you are going to need is saltpeter. Now, a lot of people don't even know where to find saltpeter. There are 2 places to farm saltpeter on the entire map that I know of. Now, there might be something later on, level 60 places, I don't know. But near Windsward is the easiest one. The starting zone of Windsward by Windsward Watchtower, there's that cave they make you go through in every starting place. The Windsward one is called Torrent Dawn Cave. Now, along the backside of that cave, you will find about 100 saltpeter. There's a bunch of different spawns, but the total amount is 100 saltpeter. What you'll do is you'll go through and you'll grab the saltpeter. You'll leave the cave and go do something else, pick up flint or something, go cut down some trees for about 5 minutes, and then you go back in and it'll all have respawned and you grab it all again. And you just keep doing that till you get as much saltpeter as you need. Honestly, saltpeter is the easy part. Flint is the real crutch on this one. Unless, of course, the game's been out for like 2 years and no one cuts down trees anymore, and charcoal costs a lot and you have to get the trees yourself, which is kind of terrible. But then if it's been out that long, and if you don't engineer, be of high enough levels, use star metal tools, maybe it won't be so bad. I don't know. The other saltpeter spawn that you can go to is just as good, if not better, is north of Everfall. There is the Ebon Rock Quarry. If you go to the Ebon Rock Quarry, let me show on the map one more time so you're not 100% sure where this is. So this is Everfall. So you go up, follow that road. There's a shadow mine, whatever, fast travel. It's north of the fort. You come around here, go up here, and whatever. You get into this Ebon Rock Quarry. It's a cave. You go in there, and it's just all over the place. There's saltpeter everywhere. It's probably like 150 per cycle. So you'll go through and you'll get them all, and then you'll leave and go cut down trees or something, or do something for about 5-7 minutes or so, and then you'll come back and you'll grab them all again. Now, this is all assuming that no one else is trying to grab the saltpeter too, but if nobody else is grabbing the saltpeter, then yeah, you can get it pretty darn fast. You could probably get like 2,000 saltpeter an hour or something like that. And since the ratio is 2 flint for every 1 saltpeter, that flint is really the biggest crutch on this one. So getting flint really sucks. And the other bad part about this is getting flint and getting saltpeter do not give any experience to any profession whatsoever. So the biggest thing that you are going to need to do is find some way to get a hold of these stupid things. Now, once you have that and you have leveled up with gunpowder, in my case, I'm on day 3 of release and I have 126 engineering, and I've only spent a few hours doing this because that's how good it is for leveling engineering. Now let's move on to some of the other things. So with engineering, the biggest thing that you are going to want to make with this is tools. You may be able to sell them to get money, and that's another way that you can level your engineering once you get higher level, is trying to make tools and then sell them to recoup the cost of the materials, and then maybe just buying the materials. You'll generally run at a deficit doing that unless you get really, really lucky on sales and can just sell. But later on, when everyone's level 200, if you made a new character and you're trying to level up, you probably won't be able to sell this for crap. So that might not be an option except for during release of the game when I made this video. Other than that, there's not really anything else to know about engineering as far as how it works. So if for anyone who doesn't actually know how crafting works, the higher level you are in engineering, and this goes for other professions too, the higher gear score rolls that you can get on your gear. So if I go back to iron tools, since I already have 126 engineering, instead of being 200 to 250 gear score, like anywhere between there is what I'll craft. It'll be random every time. Instead, that amount goes up, and now it is 220 to 275, which makes me, instead of the 125% gathering speed iron tools, when I craft an iron tool, I'll show you one. That's actually a bad roll for me. You can see in the bar, it shows that I've rolled almost my lowest roll, and that's 157% gathering speed. My highest roll at this point is about 225% gathering speed, and it's pretty cool. Another thing, if you're not familiar with crafting, how this works is if you can add Azoth, and it'll guarantee that it's a green or blue item or whatever. So for if there's 2 traits, it can only be green. 3 traits makes it blue, so you can't even get blues until you get to Star Metal. Star Metal has 3 different perks it could potentially have. So if you add the Azoth to get that, it'll no matter make it a blue harvesting tool. Now another thing to mention here is that the top one is the primary. It says primary. That one can't be changed. In this case, it has to be Star Metal, or in this case, it has to be steel, or in this case, it has to be iron. But these ones can change. And what happens when you change these is if you upgrade these, it increases the average gear score that you can roll. So you'll see up here at the top right that if I make this, it'll be anywhere between 220 and 275 gear score. But if I go up to lumber, now it's 225 to 275. And if I go up to rugged leather, now it's 230 to 275. So same thing would go if I had even higher materials like layered leather and I think wordwood planks or whatever they call them. That would increase it even further. So that's another thing that you should consider when making these tools if you want to make better tools. Now, as for making weapons and these types of things, it follows the exact same principle. You should know about stats, though. Stats are a little bit different. So if you make one that is already guaranteed green or guaranteed blue or guaranteed purple, the stats are going to be identical every time. You can't change perks. You can't do anything. You just give the mats. You get the gear score is actually identical every time. There's no randomness in the gear score. It is, if you make long sight is a set item that is always exactly the same with these exact stats that it shows you here. There's no changing that. But if you make one of these gray ones, like the steel musket, lacquered wood bow, and on all the way down through the bottom, if you make the orchid cal, I can't even pronounce this one. That's mining pick. The musket, for example. This one, it is random, and you cannot do the same thing of I will put on all 60 Azoth, and I will get all my gem slots, attributes, and perks, and it'll be guaranteed to be a purple or whatever. Or if it's a lower level one, it'll be a green guaranteed, or like this one be maybe a blue. I don't know. So yeah, that's another thing, and those are random. So if you want to control that, you are going to have to just make a bunch of them until you get the stats and perks that you want. Although perks can be controlled by adding them using those crafting mods that you find all the time and probably have no idea what the hell you're doing with them. Now, there are a lot of crafting mods for different things. These are just for weapons. There's even more for armor. It goes on and on and on. So if I want to guarantee that it is going to have Constitution on this, this one would be an attribute one it controls, then I put on that one. If I want a special thing like the Chain Lightning perk, well, now I put that on, and I'm no matter going to get the Chain Lightning perk. Now, as for how to find these, well, chests, mining, logging, every single profession in the game, basically every gathering profession, rare items from those are crafting mods, and good luck finding these. Maybe you'll find them on the market. If the game's been out for a long time, this is just on release. If the game's been out for like a year, maybe you'll find them, or maybe people won't even bother listing them and they just throw them on the ground. I don't know how it's going to work a year from now. But yeah, this is what you need to get in order to control the perk. So that is pretty much everything that I can think of to tell you about crafting. Oh, one more thing though. There's actually one more thing. The required level changes with gear score, and you have to keep that in mind because I'm the crafter for my company, and there's an issue I have to keep in mind, which is my crafting is so high that it says required level 5 to 16. It is physically impossible for me to make an iron logging axe that has a requirement of level 5. 220 gear score logging axe is like level 12 or 10 or something required level. So once my engineering gets so high, there's certain brackets of required level that I can't make because the random roll changes the required level. The required level for tools is completely based on the gear score. Same for weapons, actually. If you make a weapon and it gets a higher gear score, it's going to have a higher required level. So you have to kind of keep that in mind. If you're trying to make a tool for someone, like sometimes I'll have to make a tool for someone, I may have to make 4 tools until I get a bad roll so that I can give it to someone and they can actually put it on. And then I'll take the higher ones and either sell them or wait to give them to someone else. Those are things that you want to consider. Same for and also once you move up, the required level goes up way higher, which you might have already obviously known. So keep that in mind if you are making tools for someone else so you don't just waste your materials. Now that is everything I can think to tell you about engineering. Hopefully now you know everything in the game about engineering. If you have any questions, just put it in the comments. I tried to think of every single thing that you could possibly need to know about this profession, how to level it, what it does. That's pretty much everything that I know about engineering. I'm an engineering expert, at least on release, and I'm the engineer for my guild. I'm actually the crafting person for my guild. We're on day 3, and I have all of this, so that is what I do. But anyway, that is it for engineering. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully now you know how engineering works in New World.